Hello, and I am Chris Jenkins with CharlotteVibe.com, and welcome to my draft week. It's been that long of a day. It's almost as tiring as a draft, but today the Carolina Panthers had to cut their roster down to the 53-man requirement. They need to do so by 4 p.m. Carolina Panthers were well ahead of that, doing it approximately around 2 o'clock or so. They had their roster cut down. So I'm gonna go through this in no particular order, but as we go through it, I'm gonna give you guys some of my feelings and thoughts on some of this stuff that has taken place. And I always encourage you all, if you're not following me on Twitter, to do so, but that's a great place to send me back some questions or comments that you guys may have, as well as leave those comments on the YouTube video below. I always make my point to get through and answer those. So without further ado, let's talk about the cuts. And you'll see them on the screen here to follow along. Some of these guys' names I may not get right, but that's why they're on the screen. So Desmond Southward, a safety. Ben Boulware, linebacker. We all know and cheer for that local guy, but Ben just never seemed to really have an opportunity, at least with the Carolina Panthers, and making an impact to be on that 53-man roster. Zeke Bigger, Austin Duke is another guy that was a local guy that had a lot of attention on him. He was a guy that shined a lot in practice, but he couldn't have that same type of experience on the field, and I feel like that really did him in. But I feel like Duke will certainly get an opportunity with another team to, actually maybe I'm gonna backtrack on that because he has to make the practice squad. So I'm not gonna comment on where he may go. Certainly if he comes back to the Panthers, I'll comment on that. Eric Crum, defensive tackle. Garrett Gilbert, quarterback. Jalen Simmons, running back. Kiaris Garrett, wide receiver. Mose Fraser, wide receiver. Defensive end, Brian Cox. So that is the first 10 of those that were released. Let me continue on through the list. Blaine Clausel, man, I'm butchering these names, so that's why they're on the screen. Zach Moore, defensive end. Larry Webster, defensive end. Toby Johnson, defensive tackle. Eric Wallace, tight end. Jeff Richards, cornerback. Damian Parham, safety. Bryce Williams, tight end. Devontae Johnson, cornerback. Gabriel Mass, defensive tackle. So lastly, we have Arthur Miley, defensive end. Brian Folkhart, center. He's a little bit surprising, but I know we started stocking up on centers as we were having some injuries that we were dealing with, so Brian didn't make it. Connor, his last name's on the screen, and Ife Obada. And he was our international player, so it was kind of interesting that we cut this guy because he's exempt from being from counting against us as part of their international program. But he could come back, or we could pick up another guy. So we'll probably see a flurry of transactions tomorrow about that. So again, for me, the big surprises, not surprises, but the ones that grab your attention out of that group was Ben Boulware, Austin Duke, Kiaris Garrett, some of the guys that caught my eye. So those were the guys that were waived. Now we have another category, and these are called terminated vested veterans. And this one has some bigger surprises on it. So the specialist battle was of interest. Andy Lee didn't make the cut after 14 years of experience in the NFL. He is not going to be our punter. Velarde will be our punter. For me, the one that hit the heart today, Joe Webb, quarterback, was released today. The Carolina Panthers later on today made a statement, at least Marty Herney, saying that was one of the toughest decisions to make because Joe has been such a good part of the organization, such a great guy. But Joe Webb is no longer with us. Trevor Graham, wide receiver. Daryl Young, fullback. Those guys have been released. Those were vested veterans. Things about the vested veterans, just to let you guys know, these are players that have more than 4 years of experience, and if they had been on the roster week 1, their salary would be guaranteed for the season. So those guys, in some situations, these guys could be brought back. I don't know if that'll happen with our guys, but that's why they're deemed vested veterans because of that. Wade injured, Zach Sanchez. That means he must clear waivers before being able to come back on the team as injured reserve. And Zach's release was a little surprising for me as well, because though he was injured last year, I thought that he had a pretty solid preseason, especially, you want to see guys getting better each week. And he had a good game in Jacksonville, had a good game against the Steelers, but he is waived injured. This last group, be honest with you guys, I contacted the Panthers to try to get some clarity. I'm sure they're busy with a lot of stuff, but I just couldn't get a lot of clarity on exactly what is special about these guys being injured reserve, because it's a big list. So I wonder, well, why can there be so many? Can they come back? And basically, they can't come back, but I'm sure there's some more caveats to this that may be forthcoming. But injured reserve waived were Brenton Burson, Gino Radkowski, another center, Chris Scott, guard, LJ McCray, safety, Dan France, offensive tackle, David Yankee, guard, Teddy Williams, cornerback, wide receiver, Fred Ross, tight end, Scott Simonson. So the big one there is Fred Ross that is on that list, and we'll see what happens with these guys. Hopefully, I want all these guys to come back, right? Well, not all of them, but the ones, you want a lot of them back. You wish we could keep more than we can keep. So our 53-man roster is set. I'm not gonna run through the list of all that because I'm getting tired and you guys can probably see it, but I have to do this video for you. One of the big battles was wide receivers. So I just wanted to point out the wide receivers that means that we kept. Curtis Samuel, Demir Bird made the team after having a pretty good preseason. He kind of got lost in the shuffle because at the beginning of the preseason and training camp, it was all about Christian McCaffrey and the other draft picks, and you didn't hear about Demir Bird. So Demir Bird, congratulations, you're on the 53. See the other wide receivers, Kelvin Benjamin, of course, Russell Shepard, Fozzie Whitaker were our wide receivers. I don't know if I said it, but Kalen Clay and Devin Funches was also part of that. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide receivers until, news alert, breaking news alert, we traded Kalen Clay to the Buffalo Bills. So Sean McDermott is working his relationship magic and doing a lot of transactions with the Carolina Panthers. We traded Kalen, and in exchange we got Kevon Seymour in a trade with Buffalo Bills, and the Bills acquired Kalen Clay as well as a 2019 7th round draft choice. So I guess we might still have some more movement in those wide receivers, but certainly Christian McCaffrey is a flexible guy, and we have some of the guys on injured reserve, et cetera, that could come back into play. Other notables that made the roster, Fozzie Whitaker and Cameron Artis-Payne. And I tell you, if you guys have seen the clip where Cameron Artis-Payne after the Steelers game talked about he don't know what's going to happen. He did what he can do. What he does know is he going to get paid. And if you heard somebody laughing, that was me. I couldn't help cracking up at him saying, like, I'm going to be good, which is cool. All these guys got to have a lot of confidence. But congratulations to Cameron and Fozzie, and actually to all the guys that made the 53-man roster. And I'm sure the guys that didn't, they're still motivated, and hopefully we'll land somewhere. So that is all. Again, thank you for watching. If you have watched, please subscribe to the YouTube video. I'll be back at the field tomorrow when they resume practice with their 53-man roster, and they're probably going to announce their practice squad players as well. But like our YouTube channel, guys, we have a GoFundMe account that's set up this year. If you're able to contribute, if you're able to share that with somebody that might contribute to us, continue to do what we do and bring you a lot of the behind-the-scenes information that we do, your support is needed and welcome, and you can do that. There's a link at the bottom of the page for that as well. So thanks for watching. Keep pounding. It's Chris Jenkins with CharlotteVibe.com.